Train, 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 train lover 16. The train, for its size, is the fastest vehicle on land. And the locomotives of Redcliff Loco Yard are the power behind the stations, industries and train lines that make up the well-renowned Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway. This is Redcliff Railway Tales. Ethen, Sir Callum and the Snow Globe. It was mid-December on the Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway, and all the engines were very excited for Christmas. There was so much more traffic on the railway around this time of year. There were extra letters to deliver with all the children sending their Christmas list to Santa. There were also presents to deliver, Christmas food to be taken to all the supermarkets in the local area, Christmas decorations of any kind, of any Christmas good you could imagine, all had to be delivered to the shops of the local area, on top of all the locomotives' regular jobs. But Ethen and Sir Callum had the best job of all around this time of year. They were taking trainloads of families on steam train rides from Redcliff up to Guinea Bridge Junction and back to meet Santa Claus. They loved doing this job every year and both agreed that Christmas just wouldn't be complete without these special trains. But for everyone else, the extra Christmas traffic meant they had to work harder than usual. This resulted in them getting very, very tired by the end of the day. Mr. Eric could clearly see they needed some extra help, and fast. So one cold, grey and icy morning, he went to see all of his engines in the loco yard to tell them about an engine they were getting to help them with the even heavier than usual Christmas traffic. Good morning everybody. Now, I fully understand that the extra Christmas traffic this year is even heavier than usual and that you are all struggling to cope. So this year I've hired an engine to help us with the additional Christmas traffic. Oh no, it's not Jack, is it? I don't want him and his rude ways back, especially not at Christmas. Don't worry, David. It is most certainly not Jack. It is a small tender engine named Christopher. His controller says that he is very kind and helpful and that he just loves Christmas. When will Christopher be getting here, sir? Any minute now, Sir Callum, and he will be starting work with us pretty much as soon as he gets here. Mr. Eric answered his radio. Yes? He's almost here, is he? Okay, I'll be up there as soon as I can. Over and out. Christopher is almost here, everyone. I've got to go now. And Mr. Eric walked back up the tracks towards the station. A few minutes later, Christopher came puffing into the loco yard to meet all of the engines. Hi everyone, it's great to be here. I can't wait to start work with you all. It's great to have you here, Christopher. I'm Sir Callum, and these are Ethen and Jacob. Hi, Christopher.
Howdy.
Very nice to meet you all. I'd better go now. The work isn't going to get itself done now, will it? Very true, Christopher. See you later then. Christopher soon set to work. He got all of his work done quickly and was very kind and helpful to all the other engines. He was loved by many and warmly welcomed to the railway. Later on, Sir Callum met up with Ethen, but he noticed something very strange coming from Ethan's wheels, and smelt it too. Ethen, I don't know if you have noticed, but there is some very thick grey smoke coming from your wheels. Also, can you smell something burning? Sir Callum, I do not know what you are talking about. I cannot see any grey smoke and cannot smell anything. Well, okay, but I'm just letting you know because I'm worried about you. I'd best be off now. Bye, Ethen. Bye, Sir Callum. And so Ethen and Sir Callum went their separate ways. The next day, Mr. Eric was waiting for Jacob and Sir Callum at Redcliff Station. He had something very important to tell them. Hello, you two. I have come to talk to you both today because I have a very important job for you both to do on Christmas Eve.
Oh, and what might that be, sir?
Well, Jacob, this year I have decided that we will not have a Christmas tree outside the station. Instead, we will have a snow globe with a Christmas tree inside it. And I need you and Sir Callum to go and collect it from Guinea Bridge Junction Station.
Oh, of course, sir. But why do you need both of us?
Not only is the snow globe very heavy, it is also very unstable, so you will need to bring Colin the maintenance crane with you to load it. You will also need to bring a coach to take some workmen in to stop the snow globe from swinging around as Colin is loading it. You will also need to collect a generator from Guinea Bridge Junction to power the lights on the snow globe, as we do not have a long enough generator to reach the place where the snow globe will be placed, along with some fuel to power the generator with. Now all of that combined makes for a very heavy load. That's why I need 2 engines. So what do you both say? Will you do it?
Of course we will, Mr. Eric. We're not gonna let you down on Christmas Eve. You can count on us, sir.
Excellent. Thank you both. Good luck on Christmas Eve, and I will see you both later.
See you around.
A few days later, it was Christmas Eve, and Sir Callum was waiting for Jacob so they could set out on their important task of collecting the snow globe. Now where is Jacob? I can't go without him. That is a very good question, Sir Callum. Jacob should have been here by now. Suddenly, an emergency report came through Mr. Eric's radio. Yes? Hello? Who is this? Mr. Eric, sir? This is Fireman Ben. I would like to report an incident. Oh yes, go ahead, I'm listening. You see, it's Jacob, sir. He's broken down just outside Raiden City Station. He's got a steam leak and he can't move. Oh dear. Don't worry, I'll send for Brian to take him back to Redcliff for repairs. Looks like he won't be able to help Sir Callum with the snow globe today. Thank you for telling me anyway. Over and out. What's that, sir? Has something happened to Jacob? I'm afraid so. He's got a steam leak and won't be able to help you with the snow globe. But sir, like you said, the snow globe is very heavy and I can't pull it on my own, so if Jacob is out of service, then who can help me with it now? Don't worry, Sir Callum. I'll find someone else to help you. Just then, Ethen came into the station with one of the railway Santa specials. Ah, that's it. Ethen, can I ask you a favour? But of course, sir. What is it? You see, Ethen, Jacob was meant to be helping out Sir Callum with a snow globe, but he's broken down and cannot pull the train. Sir Callum can't pull the train on his own, as it is very heavy. So could you please do it for Jacob? Okay then, Mr. Eric, but what about the Santa specials? Oh, no need to worry about that, Ethen. I'll ask Dennis to take them for the rest of the day. Alright then, Mr. Eric. I'm ready when Sir Callum is ready. Thank you, Ethen. I will see you both when you get back in time for the Christmas party. Sir Callum was very pleased to have Ethen helping him out, but secretly he was a little worried too. He remembered what he had seen coming out of Ethan's wheels a few days before, and had a very horrible feeling that this trip was not going to be easy. A few minutes later, Brian brought them their train so they could set out on their very important job. Brian uncoupled and moved backwards so that Ethen and Sir Callum could couple up to it. Once they were coupled on, Brian moved alongside them and the two engines were ready to begin their journey. The rails are very icy today, so you both be careful out there with your heavy train today. Thank you for that kind advice, Brian. Well, at least some engines on this railway appreciate my advice, not like that mean old Jack. Yeah, I know what you mean. See you later now, Brian. And with that, Sir Callum and Ethen headed off on their journey up to Guineabridge Junction. Their journey started out smoothly, but then, a few miles outside Redcliff, they were stopped by a man waving a red baton. Hello there. What's the problem? Sorry, Ethen. The points are frozen. I understand that you've been assigned to run to Guineabridge Junction via Raiden City, but you can't because the points are stuck like this. Oh dear. Well, can't we just run down the other line to Guineabridge Junction? I suppose so. But I'll have to inform Mr. Eric. That's fine by us. We'll be off now. Thank you and see you later. See you later, Ethen. Then the two continued on their journey for the snow globe. For a while, their journey was uneventful, but unfortunately, this didn't last. They were soon stopped by a pile of snow that had blown out across the tracks and blocked them. Ethen and Sir Callum couldn't get through. Oh, what the hell do we do now? We'll never be able to move this lot out of the way on our own. We might get stuck. Yep, this is a very awkward situation indeed. Relax, you two. I'll get you both out of here. I've got a snow shovel and a tea mug, so we should be on our way in no time. Ethen and Sir Callum were very happy about this, but at the same time, they were still worried about running late and not being able to get back to Redcliff in time for the Christmas party. Meanwhile, Christopher met up with Brian while he was taking Jacob back to Redcliff. Hi, Brian. I heard that Ethen and Sir Callum have gone to pick up a snow globe for the Christmas party tonight. How do you think they are getting on? Oh, I'm sure they are getting on just fine, Christopher. Back at the junction, Conductor Elliot had finally managed to clear the snow off of the tracks, and Ethen and Sir Callum were ready to depart again. However, as a result of the snowdrift, they were now running 40 minutes behind schedule.
Tickets, please, tickets. Well, you coming?
They pounded down the line, trying to make up for lost time. Hurrying though was making them use up a lot of water, and they soon began to feel dehydrated. Don't worry you two, we'll soon be at Guinea Bridge Junction. Then while the workers are helping Colin load the snow globe, I'll give you both a nice long drink. Then he looked at Sir Callum's water gauge and muttered, I hope. Ethen and Sir Callum continued to speed on down the tracks towards Guinea Bridge Junction. Luckily, they both had just enough water in their tanks to make it to Guinea Bridge Junction station, and they stopped in platform 1, tired but triumphant.
We stay on track, though sometimes we digress, but that can only happen on the Polar Express! That's the sound of her breathing!
The snow globe, the generator, and the fuel were all there waiting to be loaded. And while the workmen helped Colin with the snow globe, Conductor Elliot went to fill Ethen and Sir Callum's water tanks. Right then you two, let's give you both a drink. And he turned the valve to let the water into Sir Callum's tanks. But then, there was a strange groaning noise, and hardly any water came. Oh dear, the pipes in the tank must be frozen. How on earth are we going to get the water into the pipes if the pipes are frozen? Keep calm you two. I'll do everything I can to get as much water into your tanks as I can. Conductor Elliot tried his best. Then Sir Callum noticed something funny. There's that burning smell again. Sir Callum, what are you talking about? I cannot smell anything. Meanwhile, Brian had finally made it back to Redcliff with Jacob, and a mechanic was there waiting to fix his steam leak. Mr. Oak was about to test the Christmas lights on the station. Right! Time to test the Christmas lights.
The Polar Express!
Are you sure, sir? Do you even know if they're going to work?
Next stop, 113.40.
Oh yes, Brian, I know what I'm doing. Mr. Eric then pressed the on switch, but then there was an electronic noise that didn't sound healthy, and then a huge explosion. Mr. Eric was flung backwards with such force that his neck hurt, and he landed on his back. Oh my goodness, are you okay, sir? Merry Christmas, Mummy! I'll take that as a no then. Don't worry, Brian. I used to be a doctor, you know. All Mr. Eric will need is several strong coffees, a whack on the head, and at least 2 hours of sleep, and he should be fine when the Christmas party happens tonight. Okay then, if you say so. Back at Guinea Bridge Junction, the snow globe and everything else had been loaded, and Ethen and Sir Callum were ready to go. However, although Conductor Elliot had tried to get as much water into their tanks as possible, it still wasn't much. Well, you two, that'll have to do, I'm afraid. I just hope you both have enough water to get back home. I hope so too. The sooner we get back home, the sooner the Christmas party can start. Yep. I just want to go home now. And Ethen and Sir Callum headed back off to Redcliff. The first few miles of their return journey were uneventful, but that didn't last long. They soon reached the Bexgate flyover. They struggled up the hill with their heavy load and low water levels, but after much straining, they finally reached the top. But then, as they started to brake for the descent, Ethen's brakes suddenly burst into flames and began burning up. Ethen lost control and started racing down the hill, so Callum could not slow the train down on his own. The momentum was just too much for one set of brakes. The train roared down the line and the pair were horrified. Meanwhile, Christopher was resting nearby the rolling stock yard. He noticed the runaway train out of the corner of his eye, and he knew just what to do. He started running backwards after the runaway train in an attempt to stop it. Remain calm, you two. I'm going to try to couple up to the back of your train and try to slow the both of you down. Hurry, Christopher. We're only about 5 miles away from Redcliff, and if we come in too fast, we might crash off the tracks at the sharp curve just after the station. Then the Christmas party will be ruined. Don't worry, Ethen. I'm using my own brakes. It's slowing us down, but not enough. So hopefully with Christopher's help, we should be able to slow the train down in time before we reach the station. Conductor Elliot was also trying to help. He was standing on Ethan's running plate trying to throw a container of water over Ethan's brakes so he could extinguish them and slow Ethan down. The train swayed and lurched, and Christopher was still in pursuit. Couple me up! Couple me up! I need to slow Ethen and Sir Callum down. Right. The worker climbed onto Colin's rear coupling and fastened a chain onto it. Then he bravely jumped onto Christopher's coupling and fastened the other end of the chain onto it before jumping into Christopher's tender. Christopher braked as hard as he could. But would it be enough to stop Ethen and Sir Callum? Meanwhile, a few miles up the line, a few of the engines were already at Redcliff Station. Mr. Eric was still recovering from his little incident with the electrics, and the mechanic was busy fixing Jacob's steam leak. David was getting a little bit worried. He was wondering where Ethen and Sir Callum were with the snow globe. Oh, where are Ethen and Sir Callum? The sooner the snow globe gets here, the sooner we can start the Christmas party. Don't worry, David. I'm sure they'll be here soon enough. I really hope they will be. I really want to see this snow globe. Suddenly, everyone heard a long and loud whistle. Oh no, I can see them, but they seem to be coming in way too fast. Get out of the way, everybody! Wait, what? Oh no, Ethen, Sir Callum, please stop! Luckily, the train was now travelling slow enough for Conductor Elliot to throw the water under Ethan's wheels. This extinguished his brakes. With both Ethen and Sir Callum's help using their own brakes, they both managed to slow the train down and eventually bring Ethen to a stop. Ethen was very relieved to have finally stopped. Mr. Eric, on the other hand, was very confused about what just happened. Ethen! Sir Callum! What in the blazes just happened? Why did you both come into the station so fast? Oh, it's a very long story, sir. Then Sir Callum told Mr. Eric all about what had happened on their journey that day. Mr. Eric only had to hear Sir Callum's story once to be truly amazed by it. Well, in that case, we must be very grateful for two very special people. Christopher and Elliot, your brave and selfless actions today were nothing more than heroic. Therefore, I hereby declare you both to be the guests of honour at tonight's Christmas party. All the engines whistled and honked in cheers. Oh, thank you, sir. I'm always happy to help others in need. That's very good of you, Christopher. Now come along, everybody. We've still got a lot to do before the Christmas party tonight. And everyone agreed. The snow globe was soon unloaded and put up in the right place. The generator was then hooked up and filled with fuel. Then Brian took the empty wagons and Colin the maintenance crane back to the rolling stock yard, while Sir Callum shunted Ethen over there, where the same mechanic who had fixed Jacob's steam leak was waiting to inspect Ethan's brakes. After a few minutes of looking under Ethan's wheels, he soon found the cause of them igniting. Ethen, your brake pads have worn down so much that they got really hot and eventually caught fire. As a result, they have completely melted. We do not have any spare brake pads at the moment, as our supplier has ceased operation for the year. It is unsafe for you to run without brake pads, so I'm afraid you will have to be placed out of service until the new year, when our supplier reopens. Okay, I understand. Never mind, Ethen. The Christmas party is about to start. I'll take you up to the station for it. Okay then, Sir Callum. This made Ethen feel a little bit better, but he was still sad about not being able to work for the rest of the year. So the pair headed on up to Redcliff Station for the Christmas party. Come on, Brian. The Christmas party is about to start. Oh, okay then. I'm right behind you. So Brian followed the pair up to the station for the party. 1, 2, 3. Suddenly, all the lights came on, and the station and snow globe looked amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric was speaking through a microphone. Before we all get to indulge in this wonderful Christmas party, we have some people to thank. I would first like to say thank you to our wonderful station master Carl over here, who helped me recover from a nasty shock I had after an incident with some electrics. He used to be a doctor, you know, and if it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be speaking to you all right now. The next person I'd like to thank is this wonderful workman over here, who risked his life jumping from one train coupling to another while attempting to stop a runaway train. I'd also like to thank Elliot over here, who also risked his life trying to put out a fire on the same runaway train. But I think the biggest thank you of all would definitely have to go to Christopher over there. He was the one who actually stopped the runaway train, and if it hadn't been for them, that lovely snow globe over there would probably have been damaged beyond repair. So yeah, thank you to all these people, and thank you all for coming. Merry Christmas to all of you, and enjoy the party. Everyone cheered, and the party began. The party was a great success that night. Everyone enjoyed singing Christmas songs and dancing and giving presents to each other, and all in all, having a very Merry Christmas. That night in the loco yard, long after the party was over, Mr. Eric came to see everybody. Hello everyone, I just came down here to thank you all for your hard work over the past month or so. Tomorrow is Christmas Day, and there are no trains running all day, so you all deserve some rest. Station Master Carl will be here in the morning to open all of your presents for you. I'm going home now for a good night's sleep before Christmas Day. I won't be here tomorrow, so see you all on Boxing Day, everybody. Merry Christmas to all of you, and to all of you, a good night. Then Mr. Eric walked back up the tracks and headed home. Hey, Christopher, thank you for saving me and Sir Callum today. You were very brave. Oh, that's alright, Ethen. I'm always happy to help anyone. That's very kind of you, Christopher. Good night now, and Merry Christmas. Good night and Merry Christmas to you too, Ethen. And with that, Christopher, Ethen, and everyone else fell fast asleep. Merry Christmas! The next day was Christmas Day, and Carl had come to open everyone's presents. I couldn't possibly tell you all, absolutely everyone, what everyone got, so here are a few examples. Robert got a multilingual dictionary. Freddy got a stuffed penguin that he now keeps in his cab as a lucky charm. Peter got a box of jokes that are so bad they're funny. David got a vinyl record of AC/DC's Back in Black. Vites got a ceramic croissant that he now uses for decoration in his buffet car. Jacob got a VHS copy of Toy Story, his favourite Disney movie. Sir Callum got a VHS copy of his favourite TV show, Mr. Bean. And what did Ethen get? Of course, he got some new brake pads. Thank you, Santa. Now I can run before the new year after all. That's great, Ethen. Santa got me this nice book about the history of Christmas. That's very nice, Christopher. Wait a second. What's that in your tender? What's what in my tender? I'll go and have a look. Oh, it's a letter. Is it? Please open it and read it out to me. All right. Let's see now. Dear Christopher, I'd just like to congratulate you on saving Ethen and Sir Callum. Your actions were very brave and heroic. You have been a very good boy this year. I hope you like the book on the history of Christmas I gave you. Warm regards, Santa Claus. Oh, that's so nice of him to leave a letter just for me. Indeed it is, Christopher, and what a great Christmas this is. Well said, Ethen. Merry Christmas, Ethen. Merry Christmas, everybody. Mr. Eric's Big Surprise. Mr. Eric is the owner and manager of the Redcliff and Guineabridge Railway. Some say he is the railway's fat controller, even though he's not really that fat at all. All of Mr. Eric's engines love him so much. Some of them have had a few disagreements with him over the years, but all in all, his engines care for their controller brilliantly, but until recently, Mr. Eric had no idea how much his engines really cared for him. One early morning, in early June, Robert was talking to the others before they went out to work. Hey guys, do you know what's happening in 1 week today? What? You're finally getting an actual personality? No, silly! It's Mr. Eric's birthday! Oh! So, what's your point, Robert? My point is, it's been a long time since we all did something nice for Mr. Eric together. Yeah. We haven't done anything nice for him since I took his son down to the south coast for a few days. That was last year. Well, I think it's about time we gave him a surprise party at Cambridge Junction. What do you all say to that? Yes. Well, that's all very good. Now let's start making some plans before Mr. Eric comes. And that's just what they did. 1 week later, it was the day of Mr. Eric's birthday, and Mr. Eric was in his temporary office. Hello there, you handsome young birthday boy! Oh, I wonder who that could be. Come in! It's a celebration. Excuse me, sir. The post has just arrived. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Carl. I'll take it now if you don't mind. Very good, sir. Goodbye now. Goodbye, Carl. Now, let's see what we've got here. Oh, yes. Electrical bill. What? Water bill? Telephone bill? Well, I never. What? One birthday card? Even Cousin Jeremy's forgotten. But Conductor Jeremy hadn't forgotten. He was busy making Mr. Eric's card down at the rolling stock yard. How's this looking, David? Yeah, that's looking pretty good, Jeremy. Oh, well, I'm glad you think so. So where are you off to? Well, I've got to go and drop off the party food and then collect the cake. Robert says the cake has to be big, the biggest I can find. Dennis is getting the supplies for the party, then who's doing your regular jobs? Oh, don't worry about that. Peter's doing everyone's freight jobs today, and Robert and Dennis are doing all of the passenger duties. Brian is doing shunting as normal, Freddie and Alan are getting the presents, Jacob's getting the decorations, Vites is getting the party gifts, and obviously, I'm taking the food. Oh, and Ethen and Sir Callum are just taking the picnic flower as usual. What about Robert? Isn't he doing anything to help you get ready besides doing the regular passenger duties? Oh, Robert has the most important job of all. He has to keep the party a secret from Mr. Eric and can't let him near Guinea Bridge Junction Station until 4 o'clock, because that's when the party starts. You are going to be there, right? Oh, I wouldn't miss this party for the world. Oh well, that's good. I'd best be off now. This party isn't going to deliver itself. Okay then, see you later, David. Bye, Jeremy. And David rolled away with the wagons full of party food. And as he travelled down the line, he did a mental checklist. Let's see now. Guests, decorations, presents, food. We've got everything. But what about the music? Meanwhile, Mr. Eric was still in his temporary office, sorting out some important paperwork. Now, where did I put that? Oh, bother! I've lost it! Suddenly, he noticed something orange slide past his temporary office window. That's very strange. What's Vites up to? Vites was taking the party guests up to Guinea Bridge Junction, and he had a lot of them to take. When he arrived, he met Robert standing in platform 2 at the station.
Notes down, another 4 to go before the party.
Good job, Vites. Mr. Eric has no clue about this party.
That is very good, Robert. You asked them.
Yeah, I'm going to check on Freddie and Alan, see how they're getting on with the presents. Okay, you do that. See you later then. And Robert rolled off towards Redcliff. On the way there, he met up with Freddie and Alan. Hi, you two. How are the presents coming along? It's all going good, Robert. We just have one more delivery of presents to make and we'll be done. Yeah? Then we will be at Guinea Bridge Junction in time for the start of the party. That's good. I'm off to check Mr. Eric now to see you both later. Okay, bye. So Robert went off to find Mr. Eric. Robert soon found him standing just in front of him. Robert? I've noticed that there are a lot of strange things happening on this railway today, and I was just wondering if you had any idea of this. Strange things, Mr. Eric? I haven't noticed anything like that today. Okay, well please tell me if you do. I will. See you later, sir. And Robert headed off once again. Soon he met David at the junction just below the Bexgate flyover. Hi David, how's the party food coming along? It's going great, Robert. I'm just taking the cake up to the station. You said you wanted to be big, so I got the biggest one I could find. That's very nice, David. Can I see this cake? But of course, Robert. So David moved forward a bit so Robert could see the cake. But when he revealed it to Robert, it was enormous. Oh, well, I know I said I wanted the cake to be big, but I didn't mean that big. Oh, come on, Robert. He'll love it. Oh, I suppose he will. Say, Robert, I was thinking earlier that we didn't have any music for this party, and I was just wondering if you could think of any. I don't know, but I'm sure I'll think of something in time. You better get going with delivering that cake now. Okay then, I'll see you up at Guinea Bridge Junction. So David headed off up the line towards Guinea Bridge Junction, while Robert followed closely behind. Meanwhile, Mr. Eric still had loads of emails to sort out. Grrr, so many emails! How am I going to read and reply to all of these by the end of today? Back at Guinea Bridge Junction Station, it was looking amazing. The decorations had been put up, the food was on the table, the presents had been laid out, and the guests were all at the station. Okay guys, everything seems ready to me. I'm off to collect the most important guest of all now. Be ready to greet him when I get back in about 1 hour. See you then, you lot. And Robert headed off to fetch Mr. Eric.
Looks like clear skies ahead.
By now, Mr. Eric was feeling very tired and very unhappy. I've had so much to do today and it's already 3:30 and no one has wished me happy birthday yet. They've probably all forgotten. Suddenly, Robert came rushing into the station. Oh, Mr. Eric, you have to come to Guinea Bridge Junction Station right away. It's very important. Oh, Robert, whatever it is, I don't think I'm in the mood for it. No, Mr. Eric, please. It's so important. Oh, very well, Robert. If it's urgent. So Mr. Eric climbed on board Robert and they set off for Guinea Bridge Junction. When they got there, there was a huge curtain lined out across the tracks. Is this what all the fuss is about, Robert? A huge curtain laid out across the tracks? Yes, I know. Strange, isn't it? Robert, I've noticed there have been a lot of strange things happening on this railway today. Please tell me what is going on. Oh, you'll see. Larry, drop the curtain. The curtain dropped, and behind it was all the engines and party guests, and the party was looking great. Happy birthday, Mr. Eric! Oh my goodness, I thought you had all forgotten. We would never forget your birthday, sir. We just had to keep this party a secret from you until now. And sorry, but not all of us could make it. Some of us are still doing our other jobs. Oh, well, that's very kind of you all. But hang on a second. If you were getting ready for this party, then who was doing all of your regular jobs? Oh, no need to worry about that, sir. I took care of everyone's freight duties as well as my own. Me and Robert did all of the passenger duties. That's okay, just as long as the work gets done. Wait a second. What's that? That is your birthday cake, sir. It's huge. I know it is. Robert told me it had to be big, so I got you the biggest one I could find. Well, this all seems like a wonderful party. Thank you all. Oh, and there's one more thing. I have got some music for the party. I think you will like this song. Oh my god, David, I love this song!
Penetration, rapid fire through your skull. Shot it on when taking it back to the days of trying to lose control. Swerving in a blaze of fire, racing through my bones. Oh shit, I'm feeling it. Hell yeah, I feel like killing it. That's what it's like to experience. Out of the blue, into the bag, door coming through like what was that? Hanging over to make me feel so heated, and we creeping out showing you jam. From alone, give a shit if you know, cause even if you did, bet you keep coming back. Back for more, need a man, yo, addicted to the heat, we make.
The party lasted well into the night, and Mr. Eric said afterwards that it was the best birthday party he had ever had. The trouble with wagons. All the engines on the Redcliff and Guinea Railway were working harder than usual. A brand new building was being built on the site of the old Raiden City freight depot. The depot had closed in 2012 and had been abandoned for years. Then one day, Vites had an accident and destroyed the depot. The remains of the depot had since been cleared up, and the site had been purchased by the Redcliff and Guinea Borough Council, who, as a little side note here, also provides subsidisation for the railway. This allows Mr. Eric to make the price of passenger tickets on the railway fairly cheap. Anyway, the council had big plans for the site, and the railway had won the contract to supply the raw materials for the big project. Rocks were taken in the wagons to a factory near Guinea Bridge Junction, where those rocks are made into concrete bricks. Then the concrete bricks are taken over to the building's construction site to be used to build this building. But none of the engines knew exactly what this building was going to be. That was until one morning when Mr. Eric was finally going to reveal to his engines as to what this building was. Good morning, everyone. Now, I understand that you have all been speculating as to what this new building at Raiden City is going to be. Well, today's the day I finally reveal that to you all. The new building is going to be a huge lifestyle complex, and the council has decided to name this new building the Eric Building, after me. I really cannot tell you how much of an honour it is to have this building named after me. Congratulations, Mr. Eric. What's going to be in this new building? Well, Freddy, this new building will include a whole range of apartments and offices, and in the basement there will be a shopping centre, a food court, a cinema, a swimming pool, a bowling alley, a gym, and a nightclub. The building is even going to feature its very own hotel. Oh, that all sounds very interesting, sir. It is. But if it is to be finished on time, then we all need to crack on. So come along, everybody. Let's all get to work now, shall we? Later that day, David came to Redcliff Station to pick up his freight train that Brian had left for him. One of the wagons of the freight train was loaded with rocks and was being used to make the bricks for the building. However, today the wagons were heavily loaded and were all in a bad mood. Oh, why are we so heavy today? This is not good for our axles. I know, let's take our anger out on David. We'll play a trick on him on the Becksgate flyover. Yeah, that sounds good to me. David, of course, didn't hear them. He was soon on his way to Guinea Bridge Junction with his heavy freight train. He thought the wagons were running smoothly and were behaving well, but he was wrong. When they reached the Becksgate flyover, the wagons stepped their brakes and held David back. Come on, you stupid wagons! But the wagons didn't stop holding him back until they reached the top of the Becksgate flyover, at which point they started pushing him down the other side. They were going so fast at the bottom that they crashed right off the tracks, and the wagons piled on top of one another. David lay on his side. He had sustained heavy damage from the impact of the crash. Brian soon arrived with Colin the maintenance crane, the track gangers, and Mr. Eric. He was deeply shocked when he saw the damage that the wagons had caused. It's all right, David. It definitely wasn't your fault. I understand that, sir, but is my conductor all right? Apart from a broken bone in his right arm, he's fine. The medics say that he should recover fairly quickly and be back at work within approximately 2 weeks. What about me, sir? Unfortunately, an inspector has concluded that you have sustained far too much damage for you to be repaired here on site, so you will have to be taken away to crew works for major repairs. You will be gone for a long time, and I'll have to bring another engine in to do all your work for you while you are away. Oh no, it's not going to be Jack, is it? That's just it, David. I don't know. David just couldn't stop thinking about his replacement engine as he was being loaded onto a flat wagon to be taken away to crew works for his repairs. He was very worried that it would indeed be Jack. He was soon on his way up to crew works for his repairs. Later that evening, Mr. Eric came to see all the engines. Listen up, everybody. David has had an accident and has been sent away to crew works for repairs. The traffic on the line is far too heavy at the moment, so I have had no choice but to hire a replacement engine while he is away. Oh no, please don't bring Jack back again. Don't worry, Dennis. That horrid Scottish engine is not coming back to this railway. I have made arrangements with crew works for one of their big powerful diesel locomotives to come down and do all of David's work while he is away at crew. That's great and all, sir, but when is this engine getting here? The replacement engine won't be arriving until tomorrow morning. Get some sleep now, everyone, because even with another engine coming to help us, it will still be a very tiring day for all of us. I'll be off home now, so good night, everyone. And then everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Peter was dozing when all of a sudden he heard a really loud horn. This startled him and woke him up. Huh? Wait, what? Who's there? Then, a big, powerful-looking diesel locomotive pulled up next to Peter. Hey, Peter, my buddy, how have you been, my good old friend? Oh my god, Max, is that you? It's so good to see you after all these years. Hey, Freddy, wake up, look who's here. Wait, Freddy's here too? Oh my god, yes! Freddy rolled over to see the newcomer. Oh my god, if it isn't Max! How are you, Freddy? It's so good to see you, and you too, Peter. Just then, Mr. Eric arrived. You mean, you three know each other? Ah, you must be Mr. Eric. Hi, I'm Max, and yes, me and Peter and Freddy all know each other. We all worked together back on our old railway in America.
Wait a second. If you three are from America, then why don't you have American accents like me?
I'd be obliged to tell you, Jacob. You see, when me and Freddy came to England after our line closed, our old American voice boxes were worn out and we couldn't speak very well, so they were replaced with more British-sounding ones at crew works. And I assume the same thing has been done to you, Max, right?
Sometimes the little things.
Yep. I actually kind of prefer speaking in a British accent, you know. Well, that's very good to hear, but we all must get to work now. Peter, as you are such a close friend to Max, will you please show him around the yard? But of course, Mr. Eric. Come on, Max, I'll show you to the rolling stock yard. Right behind you, Peter. And then the pair headed off to the rolling stock yard.
Soon Mr. Moon will be shining bright, so the best day ever can
By the way,
last all
I
night.
have noticed that there is a new siding in this loco yard. Since when was that put there? Well, Freddy, I recently had that siding built because I noticed that this loco yard is running out of space for new engines. So this siding was built just in case we need another engine. Very wise decision, Mr. Eric. Peter and Max soon arrived at the rolling stock yard. Hey Peter, do you remember how strong I was back in America? Oh yes, I do remember that. Do you think you've still got it? Oh yes, I do, Peter. I can show you if you want. Alright then, Max. Why don't you demonstrate your strength to me by taking those wagons over there while I fetch Alan's coaches? As good as done, Peter. So Peter took Alan's coaches up to the station while Max went to couple up to the wagons. When Peter returned, Max was trying to take the wagons from the siding. They were very old and had not been touched for a long time. Max found them hard to move. Pull! Push! Backwards, forwards! The wagons groaned. Oh! Oh! We can't! We won't! Peter watched with interest. Max lost his patience. Hurrgurr! He roared and gave a great heave. The wagons jerked forward. Oh! We can't! We won't! Some of their brakes snapped and the gear jammed in the sleepers. Then the coupling broke and Max shot forwards. Hurrgurr! Hurrgurr! Max recovered and tried to push the wagons back, but they wouldn't move. Peter ran round to the back of Max's train to collect the undamaged wagons. Thank you for arranging this lot for me, Max. You still do have your strength from back in America. I must go now. Don't you want this lot? No, thank you, Max. And I've taken all this trouble from them. Why didn't you tell me? You never asked me. Besides, it seems that you are really enjoying being strong. Goodbye now, Max. And Peter rolled away with his wagons. Peter had obviously been joking with Max, but it was very hard for Max not to take it personally. Max had to help the workmen clean up the mess. He hated it. All the wagons were laughing and singing at him. Max then scuttled away to sulk in his siding. Later that night, Peter and Freddy were talking about Max. I tell you, Freddy, the coupling on his train snapped and he just lurched forwards. It was hilarious. That sounds very funny to me. If he's not careful, he's going to knock himself off the tracks. Max wasn't too happy about this. He was going to prove to his friends that he was very strong. But what he didn't know was that this was going to get him into trouble. Big Strong Max. Max had now been working on the Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway for almost 2 weeks. He had come down from Crewe to do all of David's work while he was away for major repairs, but Max was still cross at Peter for playing a trick on him, and was determined to prove to both him and Freddy that he was still as strong as an engine like he was back in America. However, this was going to get him into trouble, as he will soon find out. One day he had taken a very long and heavy train on a return journey from Redcliff to Guinea Bridge Junction and back. His wagons had been fully loaded at Guinea Bridge Junction and he was now on his way back to Redcliff. He thought he was strong enough to handle it himself, but he started to strain as he began to climb the Beckscape flyover. The train was proving very heavy for him, and what was worse was that the wagons were playing tricks on him. They had set their brakes and were holding him back just to annoy him. Stop holding me back, you stupid wagons! Release your brakes right this instant! But as usual, the wagons were unwilling to comply, and set their brakes even harder. Max began straining even more. Smoke billowed from his engine, and he thought he was going to overheat and burn out. He did eventually manage to get to the top, but the wagons were not prepared to stop their tricks just yet. As you would naturally expect from them, they pushed Max right down the other side like they did with David. Max set his brakes as hard as he could, but the momentum was just all too much. The wagons bumped him over the points, and they came off the tracks with their loads spilling out everywhere. Some of the wagons and Max had received minor damage, but Max had completely wrecked the level crossing. Soon Brian brought Colin the maintenance crane so that the mess could be cleared up. Mr. Eric had also come to see the damage too. Max, do you have any idea how this happened? Well, Mr. Eric, I'm afraid I may have been straining myself with the wagons and then they pushed me down the other side of the Bexgate flyover and derailed me. I see. You must try to restrain yourself and don't wear yourself out. That's how these accidents happen, Max. Okay? Okay, sir. I will try to hold myself back from now on. There's a good engine. We will soon have you back on the tracks again, Max. Then you will be taken back to the loco yard for repairs. Max and all the wagons were soon back on the tracks again, and Brian took Max back to the loco yard for repairs along with Colin the maintenance crane. Dennis soon came to collect the wagons and finish Max's freight job for him. That night, as Max was being repaired, Peter and Freddy were talking about what had happened to Max that day. Max's accident seemed very similar to David's, didn't it, Freddy? Oh yes, it did, Peter. Thank goodness he didn't have to go back to crew works for repairs like David did. Max thought that they were being nasty to him, so he finally decided to pluck up courage and personally have a word with them. Guys, are you talking dirt about me? Of course not, Max. We were talking about you because we are legitimately worried about you. Whatever gave you that idea? Because almost 2 weeks ago, you and Freddy were talking about that little incident I had with those wagons, and I thought you were making fun of it, so I just thought that you were making fun of the incident I had today. Oh, Max, you silly sausage! You're our best friend! We would never make fun of you! Yes, we talked about both incidents because we were genuinely worried about you. We don't want you having a similar accident to David, now do we? Oh, okay. Thank you for your concern, guys. I'm sure I'll be fine now. Tomorrow I am not going to try to prove I'm the best. I'm just going to get on with all my jobs without fuss. That's the spirit, Max. Good night now. Good night, Peter. Good night, Freddy. Good night, Max. Then they all fell asleep. The next day, Max was going to the rolling stock yard to get his train ready. Brian was busy at the time, so he couldn't do it for him. As Max came into the yard, he spoke to the wagons. Listen up, you lot. I'm not going to tolerate any nonsense from any of you today. I'm just going to get on with my jobs without trying to prove I'm the best. I want to make Mr. Eric proud, so no nonsense today. This gave the wagons an idea to get Max into trouble. As he shuttered them together, they started to sing. Is that all you can haul? David's loads are longer. Is that all you can haul? David must be stronger. Max was cross. He was sure he was stronger than David. I'll push you all into a very long train at the same time. The wagons found this hilarious. Push us all, that's the longest. Push us all, you'll be the strongest. That's me, the world's strongest engine. And so Max shunted 5 wagons together. Then 10. Then 15. soon he had an enormous line of 18 wagons. Just then, Alan came into the rolling stockyard with his passenger train. What on earth is Max doing? Brian rolled alongside him. Max thinks he's the world's strongest engine. He just wants to make Mr. Eric proud. Max didn't know that the shunters had set the brakes on the wagons. The mischievous wagons knew this, but they encouraged Max to push anyway. Push, push, push! Max pushed, and he pushed, and he pushed, and he pushed. But the wagons didn't move. So Max decided to pull the wagons instead. Heave ho, you can pull but we won't go. This made Max very cross. He pulled, and he pulled, and he pulled, and he pulled. Until at last, the coupling broke and Max shot forward so fast that he crashed off the tracks just outside the rolling stock yard. Max now felt very silly for thinking he was so strong, and all the wagons were now laughing and laughing at him. Brian, who had seen everything, quickly fetched Colin the maintenance crane so that Max could be put on the tracks again. Mr. Eric also came to see what had happened. He looked cross. So Max was quick to apologise. "I'm really sorry for what happened, sir. I know now that I should have ignored the wagons and just got on with doing my job. Are you able to forgive me?" Mr. Eric was speechless. He had never had one of his engines apologise to him that quickly. He stared deeply at Max for a second and then said, "Thank you for apologising to me so quickly, Max. That was very, good of you." Mr. Eric then walked back up the tracks towards Redcliff Station. Max was soon back on the tracks and Brian took him back to his siding so he could be repaired again. That night, Mr. Eric came to speak to all of the engines in the loco yard. "Good evening, everyone. I came down here to talk to you all tonight about Max. Some of you may or may not be aware that Max had another accident today. He did, however, apologise for it extremely quickly. This got me thinking. Max means well and probably did not mean to have that accident, so I've decided to give him another chance. A couple of hours ago, I phoned Crew Works to ask them if I could not buy Max, but have him on permanent loan from them, and they have agreed. So even though David is coming home tomorrow, Max, I think you can now call the Redcliff and Giddybridge Railway home." "Oh, really, sir? You're letting me stay? Oh, thank you so much, sir. I'd love to work on this railway. I'll be the best engine you ever had. That I can guarantee to you." All of the engines whistled and honked. Max was here to stay. The next day, David came home. All the engines waited in the loco yard to greet him. Brian pulled his wagon into the yard and Colin lifted him back onto the rails. Everyone was happy, and David was the happiest of all. "Welcome home, David. While you were away, an engine by the name of Max did all of your work for you. but he has done your job so well that we have decided to make him a permanent addition. That sounds very nice, sir. Is that him over there? Yep, that is indeed me. Pleased to meet you, David. Pleased to meet you, Max. Anyway, I've been really wanting to get back to work all the time I've been at crew. Are there any jobs you want me to do, sir? Well, Max was supposed to be taking a freight train yesterday, but he had a little accident because it was so heavy, and now that train is running over a day late. I think it would be too heavy for even you, so I've had it shortened, and Dennis will be taking the wagons that were taking off it later. Do you think you could take the main part of the train to Guineabridge Junction, please? No problem, sir. I'll get on with it right away. And David headed off towards the rolling stock yard to collect his train. He backed down onto the wagons and the shunters released the brakes. Then David pulled away as easy as pie. And the engines cheered. Even Max, who was very proud to be an official member of the Redcliff and Guineabridge Railway loco fleet. Freddie's Summer Screw-Up. Once a year, the Redcliff and Guineabridge Borough Council organises a special party for everyone who lives in the local council area. There was to be ice cream and cake for everyone who attended. Every one of Mr. Eric's engines all wanted to be the one chosen to take the children to the party. This year, along with Robert and Vites, Alan and David were chosen to help them. It was a wonderful job. Freddie wished he was taking the children to the party, but Freddie was taking a tanker of raspberry syrup to Guineabridge Junction station where the ice cream factory was located. When Freddie arrived, the factory manager was waiting for him. Freddie, Mr. Eric wanted me to tell you that you have been assigned to collect the ingredients to make the ice cream for the party. You were to pick up the cream from the rolling stock yard, then the strawberries from Knutford Airport, and then the chocolate from Yalehurst. Freddie was disappointed. He had lots to collect, and he wanted to take the children to the party. His conductor tried to reassure him. If we get everything in time, Freddie, we can still take some children. This made Freddie feel a little bit better and a little more confident. So he rushed off back towards the rolling stock yard. He collected his train along with the cream, and he rolled quickly away. Next, Freddie had to collect some strawberries, so he raced to Knutford Airport to pick them up from the plane that had brought them in from abroad. Then, Freddie had to wait for Vites to pass through. Out of the way! Express train coming through! Vites' coaches were full of happy children. They were all going to the party. Why does Vites get to take the children instead of me? At last, the junction was clear, and Freddie was on his way once again. If I'm quick, I can still get back to Redcliff in time to take some of the children to the party. So Freddie raced down the line and soon reached Knutford Airport, where the men were waiting to load the strawberries. Please, be quick. The airport workers loaded his wagons. Before long they had been loaded with the strawberries. Thank you. And Freddie raced away. Soon he had to stop again to let David through the junction. He was taking more children to the party. They were having a wonderful time. Everyone gets to take the children except me. At last, the points changed and Freddy was on his way again. When he did eventually arrive at Yalehurst, where the chocolate factory was located, it was very late. The factory workers were there waiting for him with the chocolate. Hurry up, please. If I'm quick, I might still get to take some of the children to the party. The workmen loaded Freddy's box van with the chocolate. It was soon loaded and Freddy was ready to go. But the shunter hadn't released the brakes on the wagons. Freddy pulled as hard as he could, but the wagons wouldn't move. I have to hurry! Freddy heaved, and he roared, and he revved, and at last, the coupling broke, Freddy lurched forwards, and strawberries flew everywhere. Now I'll never get to take the children to the party. After a long, long time, Freddy's wagons were ready for departure. The shunter had released the brakes, and Freddy slowly rolled away from Yalehurst Falls. Finally, the track turned right to rejoin the main line at the bottom of the Bexgate flyover. This meant Freddy was nearly back at Guinea Bridge Junction. He soon pulled into the station. He thought his job was done now, but he was wrong. The factory manager was waiting for him on the platform. The ice cream will soon be ready. While we are waiting it though, Mr. Eric wants you now to go back to the rolling stock yard and collect some milk so we can make the milkshakes for the party with it. Then Mr. Eric would like you to collect some butter and take it to Aden City so the bakery can make the cakes for the party. Freddy was very disappointed. He wished he could take the children instead. But regardless, Freddy went back to the rolling stock yard to collect the milk. When he arrived there to pick it up, the yard manager was waiting for him. Freddy, you must go slowly when taking this milk. It is a very fragile product. Bad things could happen to it if you don't go slowly. Freddy became even more disappointed. If he had to go slowly, this meant his chances of taking the children had dropped even further. But nonetheless, Freddy rolled slowly and carefully away with the milk containers. Soon Freddy pulled into the bypass loop at Redcliff Station. He met up with Vites there. "Hello there, slow coach." "I am not being a slow coach, Vites. I'm being a reliable engine." "If you were not a slow coach, Mr. Eric would have given you the job I'm doing now. I'm one of the fastest and most comfortable trains in the world. That's why I'm taking the children." Vites's arrogance was making Freddy very cross. "I can be as fast as you." "Alright then, you blue slow coach. I'll lace you back to Guinea Bridge Junction." "Okay then, you stupid orange wedge. It's on." Like Donkey Kong? Yes. Like Donkey Kong. Then Vites raced out of the station. Freddy thundered after him as fast as his traction motors would turn his wheels. As he raced along, the containers rattled and rocked. They biffed and bashed, and Freddy flew straight through the junction towards Guinea Bridge Junction Station, but he had completely forgotten about going slowly. The factory manager was very pleased. Freddy had delivered the milk in record time. Now the factory could make the milkshakes for the party. But when the factory manager looked into one of the containers, he was very surprised. "This milk is almost butter!" Freddy, did the containers rattle around during your journey here? Well... Oh dear. If you shake milk for long enough, it turns to butter. Oh dear. I didn't know that. If I had, I wouldn't have listened to the tests. Ugh, honestly, Freddy. Please go back to the rolling stock yard and collect more milk. And remember to go slowly this time. Alright then, I'm on my way. So Freddy headed back to the rolling stock yard. He didn't feel like a useful engine now. When he arrived back, Mr. Eric was waiting for him. He was cross. Freddy, the party will be starting soon and you still have not delivered the butter to Raiden City. Now the children are going to have no cakes at the party. Freddy felt absolutely terrible. Oh dear, I've really screwed up today, haven't I? Well, Freddy, I hate to make you feel even worse, but I guess you could say that. This is an absolute disaster! Freddy trundled slowly and carefully back to Guinea Bridge Junction Station. He didn't feel reliable now. He felt very stupid for screwing everything up. When Freddy finally returned to Guinea Bridge Junction, the factory manager told Freddy to take the old containers back to the rolling stock yard. But then, Freddy had a better idea. Freddy raced along with the wagons even faster than he had before. He raced through the junction just before Knotford Airport and he shot right through the station. The containers rattled and rolled. They biffed and bashed and clanked and crashed. Even the cows in the fields looked up to see what all the noise was. But Freddy didn't stop until he reached Raiden City. As he slowed into the station, he blew his horn long and loud. The baker was on the platform waiting for him. "I need butter, not milk!" "Look inside the containers." The baker couldn't believe his eyes. The almost butter was now properly and officially butter. Enough to make all the cakes for the party. Mr. Eric soon found out what Freddy had done. Mr. Eric came to see him. He was very proud of Freddy for saving the party. "Freddy, I am very pleased with you. Your idea has saved the party. You have been the most reliable engine on the railway today." "Thank you so much, sir. I realise now that being reliable isn't about who gets the best jobs. It's about how much effort and care you put into the jobs you receive." "I'm very pleased to hear that, Freddy. Now your last two jobs are to bring all the party food to Redcliff for that party, and to be the guests of honour at the party." "Me? The guest of honour? I'd be more than obliged to, sir. I will get on with delivering this party food immediately." And Freddy set off with the party food. He rolled carefully down the tracks to Redcliff Station. He now no longer wanted to take the children to the party. When Freddy reached the station, David was there, dropping off the last of the children. They all cheered as Freddy pulled in. "The children are very happy that you have delivered their party food. The summer party was a great success. There were more than enough ice cream and milkshakes and cakes for everyone who attended the party." Freddy had never been happier to be a locomotive on the Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway. It had never been a busier time for the Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway. The Eric building was still under construction and all the engines were still working extra hard.
Listen closely.
Because of this, Brian, the little yellow diesel shunter, had to shunt way more trains than usual. This was tiring him out, but he was not willing to accept that. One day, Mr. Eric, the RNGR's manager, came to see Brian as he was getting worried about how much Brian was pushing himself. Hello, Brian. You seem very tired. Is all this extra shunting pressuring you?
Mr. Eric, I can assure you that I'm fine. There is nothing wrong with all this extra shunting at all. I can definitely handle it.
Are you sure, Brian? You seem very worn out to me.
Mr. Eric, I am fine. I don't need any extra help.
Okay then, Brian. If you insist. I'll leave you alone now to get on with your shunting work. See you later, Brian.
Goodbye, Mr. Eric.
Then Mr. Eric made his way back towards Redcliff Station.
Here's a little lesson in trickery. This is going down.
When he got back onto the platform, Robert had just arrived back from one of his passenger runs. Morning, Robert. How are you this morning? I'm doing okay, Mr. Eric. Why do you ask? It's just that I heard a funny noise coming from your brakes as you came into the station just now. I think you should have them checked, just to be on the safe side. Mr. Eric, I think they're fine. They just need a little oil, that's all. Well, okay then, Robert. But don't blame me if you end up having an accident like some of the other engines on this railway. Don't worry, sir. That is definitely not going to happen. I'd best be off now. See you later, Mr. Eric. Bye, Robert. And with that, Robert departed for his next run of the day. Robert was completely confident that nothing was wrong with him, and he soon forgot about the funny noise from his brakes. When he reached Guineabridge Junction, Dennis was there. He noticed Robert's brake noise as well.
Robert, have you noticed any funny noises coming from underneath your wheels?
Yes, I have, Dennis, and I am not worrying about them.
Why not, Robert? They don't sound good to me.
Because I'm sure they're fine. So what if there's a little noise coming from them?
Well, okay then, Robert. Just don't blame me if your brakes fail.
Dennis, my brakes are not going to fail, okay? I must be off now. I can't keep my passengers waiting. See you later, Dennis.
Just be careful, Robert.
Robert ignored Dennis and set off back towards Redcliff. He still didn't worry about his funny brake noise and soon came to the Bexgate flyover. He was used to the hill and crested up it without any problems. But then he tried to brake for the downhill stretch and there was hardly any response. To his horror, Robert realised that his brakes were no longer working. He couldn't slow down. He shot straight down the Bexgate flyover and flew around all the bends. He was going so fast that his passengers were nearly knocked out of their seats. He raced right through Redcliff Station and past Max.
Robert, slow down. You're going too fast.
I can't slow down. Then, disaster. Robert was diverted off the main line and towards the rolling stock yard. He flew and crashed off the tracks at the sharp curve just after the point. Most of Robert's passengers escaped without serious injury, but Robert was in a lot of pain. Just at that moment, Jacob arrived on the scene pulling the picnic flyer. Oh my god, Robert, are you alright? Yeah, I'm mostly alright. I'll get help right away. Jacob raced off up to the station. Luckily, he was able to find Mr. Eric on the platform. Mr. Eric, sir! Robert's had an accident! He's come off the tracks just outside the rolling stock yard. Oh no, I told him to get his brakes checked. We'd better go and get him back on the tracks again then. Go and fetch Colin the maintenance crane, Jacob. I'll meet you down there shortly. Alright then, Mr. Eric. Jacob uncoupled from his train and hurried backwards to fetch Colin. They were soon on the accident site and Colin set to work lifting Robert back onto the rails. Mr. Eric, meanwhile, went to have a few stern words with Robert. I'm very disappointed in you, Robert. I did tell you to go and get your brakes checked. I'm sorry, sir. Why didn't I listen to anyone? I don't know, Robert. Just don't do it again, okay? Alright then, sir. It's not going to happen again. Colin began lifting Robert back onto the tracks. But just at that moment, Robert noticed something rather strange. Something unusually shaped sticking out from underneath the Redcliff mountain, from which the town was named after. Sir, what's that thing sticking out from underneath the foot of the mountain? Oh, I don't think I have ever seen that before. I think we should have a closer look at this. Colin, do you think you can try and get whatever that is from under the mountain?
Of course, Mr. Eric, sir. I can get on with that immediately.
Oh my god, Colin, you talked. You haven't said a single word to anyone for years.
Well, no one else has ever said a single word to me. I guess I just had nothing to say to anyone up until now.
Yes, well, can you please try and get that thing out now?
Certainly, sir.
Colin immediately set to work trying to get the thing out from underneath the mountain, but his claw arm wouldn't reach far enough.
Sir, it can't reach far enough to grab the object.
Try using your electromagnet, Colin. Maybe then you'll be able to pull it out.
Alright then, sir.
Robert was moved out of the way. Then the workman fitted Colin's electromagnet to his arm and he switched it on. It was hard for him at first, but the more he increased the power, the more easily the object moved. Finally, the object came out and stuck to Colin's magnet, and to everyone's amazement, this object was actually a very old-looking electric locomotive. Hello there. What's your name?
Hello there, sir. It's very nice to meet you. My name is Emma.
Very nice to meet you too, Emma. My name is Mr. Eric, and I am the General Manager of the Redcliff and Guinea Bridge Railway. What were you doing underneath the mountain?
Well, I've probably been under this mountain for a very long time. What year is this?
2017.
2017! That means I've been here for 50 years.
50 years? Of course! You're an engine of the old Redcliff Mountain Railway, the one that closed in 1967.
Yes, it did close that year. I had an accident during the railway's last week of operation. I overshot the Summit Station's platform and fell right off the mountain. Luckily, the coaches didn't fall off, and the passengers were alright. But as the railway was closing, they saw no real point in preparing me, so they buried me underneath the mountain and left me there. I've been under here ever since, but you found me. It only feels like I've slept for a night, as if time travels 50 years into the future.
That sounds very interesting, Emma, but listen here, you are just what we need to help with all this extra shunting work we are dealing with at the moment. So, how would you like to become an official part of our railway?
Really, Mr. Eric? You'd let me do that? I would be more than honoured to, sir.
Excellent. We shall have you taken up to the rolling stock yard to be fixed up at once. Colin loaded Emma onto his flat pot, then Jacob took them up to the rolling stock yard. Well, here she is, Robert. So what do you think of this great discovery, man? I think she's amazing, Jacob. She will be a very fine addition to our locomotive fleet. Just at that moment, Brian came into the rolling stock yard.
I say, everyone, what's that thing on Colin?
Well, Brian, That's your new co-worker. Her name is Emma.
Mr. Eric, I told you, I don't need any goddamn help.
Well, I think you do. So we have brought her here to be fixed up so she can help you with all your shunting work. Yeah, Brian, I think you should at the very least give her a chance. Who knows, maybe you'll end up liking her.
Oh, alright then, but I'm telling you all, this is a huge mistake.
Things would get off to a tricky start with Brian and Emma at first, but eventually they would learn to like each other. Recently, Robert had an accident because he didn't listen to anyone when they were telling him that he needed to get his brakes checked. But as a result of his accident, Robert made a great discovery, an old engine of the closed Redcliff Mountain Railway. Her name was Emma, and the railway had now fixed her up to help Brian with his shunting work. With the deadline for the Eric building closing fast, all the engines were working as hard as they could to get it finished. This meant that Emma was now busier than ever. She was stronger than Brian, and in fact, she was doing so much work that Brian had hardly anything to do. Brian really did not like the fact that Emma was stealing all of his work from him. One day, Emma brought some coaches for Alan to take on his rush hour passenger run. Thank you, Emma. That is so kind.
My pleasure, Alan. I love being helpful.
Brian looked at her with much jealousy. If she carried on like this, what would become of him then? Later on, the yard manager gave Brian a task. Brian, could you get David's wagons for him, please?
I shall see to that at once.
Brian moved slowly forward to couple up with the wagons.
I'll do it.
And before Brian could say anything else, Emma coupled up with the wagons and promptly took them straight up to the station for David to collect. Ah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma. That is very kind. It was at this point that Brian had had enough of everyone being so nice to Emma, and everyone forgetting about him. He needed to think of something so that everyone would realise that Emma wasn't as good as they thought she was. Then he got an idea. Brian got a wonderfully awful idea.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a very long train for Emma to take. She won't be strong enough to pull it, and then everyone will see that she's not great after all. Then everyone will respect me again.
The next day, Brian put his evil plan into action. He began shunting the wagons into a very long and heavy train. Soon it was ready, and Brian looked back to admire his devious work.
It's perfect. That stupid animal will be slipping her wheels and won't be able to pull this long train.
Just then, Emma came back into the yard to find Brian and the very long train.
My, that's a very long train. Who's gonna pull that lot?
You, of course.
Me? But I can't possibly pull all of that. I'm not very big like you. Can't Max just do it? He's the strongest. He would definitely be able to manage it.
Max is very busy with other things at the moment. Come on now, you're stronger than me. I'm sure you can do it, being the very helpful locomotive you are.
Well, alright. I'm sure that train will turn out to be as heavy as it looks.
Thank you, Emma. You're so kind and helpful.
Brian grinned evilly. His plan was working perfectly. Emma started off with her long and heavy train. Brian watched her leave, feeling very pleased with himself. Emma was only just able to pull the heavy train. She was doing her best. Soon she passed Jacob and began to climb the Becksgate flyover. Gosh, that train looks mighty heavy. Be careful with that, darling. Emma was struggling now, trying to pull the train up the flyover. She was using every last bit of electricity in her batteries to get up the hill. The wagons clanked and creaked, and the train continued up the gradient. The train was far too heavy, and it slowed right down to a stop. Emma's wheels spun and spun, but it was no use. The train just wouldn't get over the top. Then suddenly, the coupling broke, and Emma's wagons rolled back down the hill, faster and faster.
No, come back!
But of course, the wagons couldn't hear her, and they continued to speed back down the tracks towards the building. Back at the construction site, Peter was talking to the project manager.
So after Jacob's accident with that crude oil, he'd learned his lesson and was ready to fight his son.
That sounds like it was a very funny event, Peter. I've always wanted to know. Suddenly, everyone heard a distant noise from down the tracks. Peter, what on earth is that noise?
That sounds like... Runaway wagons! Everyone take cover! Runaway wagons approaching!
Everyone took cover and braced themselves. The train came hurtling round the bend, and it smashed into the tower. As the tower crashed to the ground, bricks and glass exploded everywhere. All the hard work was wasted. The entire building was a huge mess on the ground, and no one knew what to think of it. Just then, Brian came rushing into the disaster scene.
Oh my goodness, what on earth has happened here?
I think it's pretty obvious what happened, Brian. This was a setup, wasn't it?
Well, I did not want it to end like this at all, I swear.
But deep down, Brian knew that Emma was right. He felt awful and knew that this disaster was all his fault. Freddie soon arrived with Colin the maintenance crane to help clear up the mess. He also brought with him an angry-looking Mr. Eric. Brian, do you see what's happened here? This is such a catastrophe. Why did you shunt so many wagons for Emma? Brian knew exactly why he had done it, but he couldn't tell Mr. Eric. He felt too ashamed, so he said nothing. Brian, don't ignore me. Answer my question. Why did you shunt so many wagons for Emma? Still, Brian did not say a word. Mr. Eric was very cross. So, you're giving me the silent treatment, are you now, Brian? Honestly, this really is not like you at all. Mr. Eric walked off in a huff. Brian just stayed there where he was, thinking of the awful atrocity he had just committed. Later that evening, Mr. Eric called a meeting with all the engines at the loco yard. So you see, engines, now because of Brian's, and I'm sorry, but there's no nicer way to put this, selfish and disgusting actions, the Eric building will now no longer be able to be completed on time. And guess who has had to take the blame from the council for it? Not Brian, me. Yes, me. The council are saying that I run an incompetent railway and are thinking of withdrawing our contract to supply the building's raw materials. They are even considering revoking the building's name as the Eric Building and naming it after someone who is more worthy of the building being named after. All of this has been caused by your actions, Brian, and you are very lucky that I have decided not to inflict any consequences on you, because believe me, what you did today is worthy of you being confined to the loco yard for a whole month. Sir, may I just put in that we engines have come to the agreement to send Brian to Coventry. That means we shall not be speaking to him again anytime soon. To be quite honest with you, Sir Callum, I don't blame you. Brian has been nothing but a huge inconvenience for all of us today. Brian now felt even more horrible than ever. He knew that no one wanted him anymore. That night, when everyone else had gone to sleep, Brian slipped away quietly. However, Emmis noticed him leaving and followed him all the way to Guinea Bridge Junction station.
Brian, what are you doing?
Ugh, I'm running away from this railway, Emma. It's clear to me that nobody wants me here anymore.
What? Brian, of course we still want you here. You may have messed up today, but that doesn't mean you should run away.
Well, I'm running away anyway. You seem to manage just fine on your own, always beating me to it with getting everyone's trains ready.
But Brian, I was only trying to be helpful to you.
Well, Emma, I think you were being a little too helpful. I did try to tell Mr. Eric I didn't need any help, but he wouldn't listen to me. And now the Eric building has been destroyed. Therefore, I'm running away from this railway and never, ever returning.
But Brian, where will you go?
Somewhere where I'm actually wanted. I've decided I'm going to run away to Coventry. I know it's only a metaphor for not speaking to anyone, but to be honest, I really can't think of anywhere else to go.
Brian, please don't run away. We'll all still want you here, despite what happened today.
I'm sorry, Emma. My mind is made up. I'm permanently leaving this railway, and there is nothing you can do to stop me, alright?
Oh, okay then, Brian. I guess this is goodbye forever then.
Yes, Emma, it is. Goodbye forever, Emma. Never see you again.
And with that, Brian headed off up the line that led away from the Redcliffe and Guineabridge Railway and onto the national network.
I don't think Brian has made a very wise choice. I should probably inform Mr. Eric about this. I hope he'll still be around doing some late-night work at this hour.
Brian continued along the line in the pitch dark of night. It was cold and eerie. Brian began to feel slightly unsettled. He stopped for a bit to try and take in his surroundings.
I hope I reach Coventry soon. This darkness is starting to creep me out. Ugh! What's that? Oh, just an owl. Nothing to be afraid of here, so I'll just continue to Coventry.
As Brian headed on up towards Coventry, he kept stopping every now and then to check that he was safe. Soon he came to another bend, but he heard something behind him.
Huh? What's that? Whatever you are, or whoever you are, please don't hurt me. I'll shank you really hard. I will. Please, just leave me alone.
But then, who should show up from behind Brian? Emma, of course. And who should accompany her? None other than Mr. Eric. Hello, Brian. Thank goodness we found you. We really didn't mean to make you run away, despite what happened earlier.
Oh, thank you for coming to get me, sir. I now realise that this was not such a good idea after all. I'm sorry about the Eric building, and I'm sorry I was horrible to you, Emma.
That's alright, Brian, but I'm sorry as well. I now realise that there is such a thing as being too helpful. Helping your friends too little can exhaust them, but helping them too much can make them feel unwanted and useless. You are neither of those things, Brian. That's why me and Mr. Eric want you to come home to Redcliff with us.
That's right, Brian, and you'll be pleased to know that on our way up here, I phoned the council and explained everything to them, about what happened with the Eric building collapse, and about you running away. They now understand that it was not my fault after all, and they are not going to revoke the contract or the building's name after all, and they really feel for you, Brian. However, just because of that, I do not want you to get the idea that me and the council have excused your actions today. We both see and understand your side of the story, Brian, but it is important for you to see and understand our side of the story as well.
Oh yes, sir, I do see and understand it. I promise to never trick anyone and end up causing widespread harm like that ever again.
That is very good of you, Brian. I'm glad you've learned your lesson now. And now, I think it's time we all got back to Redcliffe.
Couldn't agree more, sir. Let's all go home now.
And with that, Emma coupled up to Brian and they all set off back towards Redcliffe. When they finally made it back, it was early morning, and the engines were waiting in the loco yard to greet them. Morning, you two. It looks like you both had an eventful night.
Oh, believe me, Robert, it was anything but an eventful for us.
That's right, Robert. We had quite a night, but we're home now.
Yes, indeed. Brian is very sorry for what happened yesterday and has learned his lesson. I would greatly appreciate it if you all forgave him.
course we will forgive him, sir. Where would this railway be now if it weren't for Brian?
All the engines honked and whistled in agreement. Everyone was happy that Brian was safe and that he and Emma were now both firm friends for life. With the Eric building now destroyed, all the engines now had to work harder than ever before to get it rebuilt as quickly as possible. Although they have forgiven Brian for his tricks on Emma, they still needed to get it rebuilt. Finally though, after a lot of exhausting work, the Eric building was at long last complete and ready for its grand opening. On the day of the grand opening, Mr. Eric had a special announcement to make to everyone at the loco yard. Morning everyone, well done to you all for helping to get the Eric building rebuilt in record time. It hasn't even been that delayed. I hope most of you will finish your work quickly enough to attend the grand opening later today. I'll definitely be there, because in honour of the grand opening, I've arranged a very special surprise for my wife. Just then, David came into the loco yard returning from his early morning freight run, but he had been running late with it today.
I'm very sorry I'm late for your announcement, sir. There was a problem with one of the points back down the line.
Yes. That's okay, David, but if you're going to attend the grand opening later, then I don't want you to be late for it. Okay, David?
Yes, sir, I won't be late for the grand opening. I've been looking forward to this for the past 2 weeks.
Excellent. I must be off now. The surprise is waiting for me and my wife at Knutford Airport. All those who are thinking of going to the grand opening, see you all there later. Then Mr. Eric left for Knutford Airport. However, Vitesse didn't have any confidence in David for being on time to the grand opening.
Ha! No, you, David. I very much doubt that you'll be on time for the grand opening. I bet something will set you back and make you late. You need to learn how to be more punctual, David.
I am punctual most of the time, Vitesse. You're just acting all arrogant today because Mr. Eric has given you the job of taking all the VIPs to the opening.
Yes, he has. And the reason he has chosen me is because he knows that I'm the fastest, most comfortable, and most punctual locomotive on this railway. Those VIPs are going to get the ride of their lives, and I will be at the opening first. By the time you get there, on the other hand, it will be all over. Then you'll understand who's the most punctual and who is the least.
Oh yeah? Well, you just wait, Vitesse. With an attitude like that, something is going to happen to you that will make you think again, idiot.
Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. Now chop chop, Mr. Yellow. You're going to need to get on now if you're ever going to make it to the grand opening before it finishes.
You'll see, Vitesse. I will be on time to the opening, and then you'll be laughing on the other side of your orange as Donald Trump's face, and believe me, that is a very painful thing to do.
Over at Knutford Airport, Mr. Eric had arrived to make sure that the surprise was ready for him and his wife.
Alex, you cannot be serious. Me riding this?
Oh, come on now, Francesca. I thought a hot air balloon ride would be a great way for us to see the finished building from above, and we'll get to see the entire railway from up there as well.
Yes, well, I just don't think it's a very dignified method of travel. And I thought you didn't even like balloons.
Oh, I'm fine with hot air balloons. Apart from their flames, they hardly make any noise at all, even if they burst. It's party balloons I don't like. They make a horrible noise when they burst. And that's the exact same reason why I don't like fireworks either. Come on, dear. It'll be great once we're up there.
Oh, very well then, Alex. I'm sure it'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Now viewers, Francesca has just made a terrible mistake. By saying those 5 words, she has now jinxed the entire day, and is now pretty much guaranteed that something is going to go wrong with the hot air balloon flight. So viewers, please take my advice for future reference. Do not ever say that 5-word phrase, okay? Because if you do, then you will guarantee for something to go wrong, as you will see later on in this episode.
Soon, Mr. Eric and Francesca were in the hot air balloon and it took them up into the sky. They had begun their aerial tour of the railway and their viewing of the Eric building from the air.
You know what, dear? You were right. The railway looks splendid from up here.
Thank you, my precious one. I knew you'd enjoy it once we were in the air. You'll be able to see the Eric building soon. You will be amazed by how great it will look from up here. Meanwhile, as the balloon continued to travel across the sky, David was having his freight train loaded at Guinea Bridge Junction station, but the workmen were taking much longer than David would have liked them to.
Hurry up, please. I'm going to be late again if I don't leave soon.
Just then, Vites pulled into platform 2 to pick up the VIPs. Still here, I see, David. That means only one thing, my good friend. You're going to be late again.
Oh, will you just shut up, Vites? I'll be at the grand opening in double quick time once my train has loaded and I'm on the way.
Yeah, if you ever get away in time. I must be on my way soon. Me and my very important passengers don't have time for dawdlers like you.
Dawdlers? Why, you idiotic Frenchman. You'll get what's coming to you. You'll see.
Oh, do stop blabbing, will you? Anyway, it's now time for me to go. See you soon, Mr. Late. And with that, Vites pulled out of the station and sped off on his way to the grand opening with the VIPs. Vites had a full load that day. However, Vites had been so arrogant about his special job that he hadn't bothered to get himself cleaned and inspected before he set off that day. He was soon at the Bexgate flyover. Usually, he would have been able to get up it without any problems, even with a full load. But today, his electric motors began making strange noises. At first, Vites thought it was just his imagination. But then he began to feel very hot. His motors groaned and whined, and then he broke down. Vites had stopped right on top of the Bexgate flyover. He felt most embarrassed, and now wished he had gotten his checkup after all. Ugh, I usually have myself cleaned and inspected before I do any special job. Why I didn't do that today, I don't know. This will not be a very good example for the VIPs. Then, things began to get worse. It had rained very hard the night before, and this had caused the ground beneath the Bexgate flyover to weaken. Usually this would have been fine, but Vites had stopped, and was so big and heavy, combined with the weight of all the passengers, caused the Bexgate flyover to start swaying left and right. Vites was now in serious trouble. What in the name of Napoleon is that noise? Oh no, I think the Bexgate flyover is swaying. I'm in trouble now. Sacre bleu! Meanwhile, Mr. Eric and his wife were still enjoying their hot air balloon ride.
This is so wonderful, Alex. I can't wait for when we land and see everyone on the ground watching our grand entrance.
Yes, dear. You're going to love landing and seeing the Eric building from above, and everyone in the ground is going to love seeing us land. And at long last, by now, David was finally on his way. Then there was trouble. The hot air balloon's flame suddenly failed. The air in the balloon cooled, and they began to sink out of the sky. Hold tight, you two. We're going down.
I want to get out, Alex.
I don't think now would be a very time to get out, Francesca. You know, just saying.
Hold on a moment. Is that a hot air balloon? Wait, yes it is. And it has Mr. Eric in it. It's going to crash land right on the tracks in front of me.
And so it did. Mr. Eric, his wife, and the pilots were not hurt, but Francesca was most displeased about what had just happened.
My hair is ruined.
So is mine, dear.
Are you both okay?
Well, apart from my wife acting all grumpy about her hair getting ruined, which she always does whenever that happens, yes, David, we are both absolutely fine. I am very glad to see you here.
Why, thank you, sir. It was very kind of you to say that, but if I hadn't been running late, you would both probably have been waiting quite a long time for someone to come and pick you up.
I understand what you're saying, David. Perhaps just this once it was a good thing that you were running late. Suddenly, Mr. Eric received an emergency call through his radio. Yes? Hello? Who is this? What's that you say? Broken down, is he? Stuck on the Bexgate flyover, which is at risk of collapsing? Oh my, that's very serious. Don't worry, we'll send help over there as soon as possible. Thanks for informing me about this trouble. Over and out.
What's that, sir? Has there been an incident?
Yes, David, unfortunately there has. Vitesse has broken down on the Bexgate flyover, and his extra weight combined with the saturated ground below the flyover is causing it to sway around, and this means that it is at risk of collapsing.
I'll rescue him, sir. I'll have to take you and your wife to the grand opening first, sir, but I won't be able to pull Vitesse, his heavy coaches, and this train all together.
Are you sure, David? You'll have to go really fast if you are to reach him in time in that case.
Oh, yes, sir. I'll go as fast as a Formula 1 car and be back at the grand opening of Vitesse before you can say that I was late.
Okay then, David, but don't actually try going as fast as a Formula 1 car. Lots of bad things might happen to you if you're trying to do 200 miles an hour.
You know what I mean, sir. Now please get on my train as quickly as you can. This is an emergency.
The balloon was soon loaded onto David's train. Then Mr. Eric, his wife, and the balloon pilot climbed aboard, and David set off as fast as his wheels could accelerate. Meanwhile, at the opening, most of the engines were already there and were ready. The grand opening was now less than an hour away.
Where's David? He said he wouldn't be late for the opening.
Don't worry, Dennis. He'll be here soon. I'm sure of that. And just moments after Alan said that, David appeared from around the bend. Brilliant work, David. You made it. I knew you'd get here soon enough.
Robert, I don't have time to stop. This is an emergency. Please move out of my way.
Oh, okay then, David, if it's urgent. Robert quickly moved out of David's way so he could drop off his load and uncouple his wagons. Everyone soon got off the train and it was unloaded. Then David raced off to rescue Vitesse. He soon reached the bottom of the Bexgate flyover and found Vitesse stuck there.
Try to stay calm, Vitesse. I'm going to rescue you.
Even after everything I said to you?
Yes, I'll always be happy to help you out, even if you weren't teaching me earlier today. I wouldn't have been able to rescue you if I wasn't late. But I'm here now, and I will rescue you. Now you're going to have to uncouple your guard's van. I won't be able to come to you and pull you off the flyover in time otherwise.
Okay, David, I will get my conductor to do that. Vitesse's conductor quickly uncoupled the guard's van, and it rolled back down the hill towards David. He moved backwards to catch it and reduced the impact of the guard's van hitting him.
Okay, Vitesse, I've got it. I'm moving it out of the way now.
David moved the guard's van onto the other line so he could now race up the flyover to Vitesse and bring him back down before the flyover collapsed. David was coupled up to Vitesse and he was ready to rescue him.
Okay, Vitesse, I've got you. Now let's get out of here before we all die.
David pulled Vitesse off and away from the Bexgate flyover just in time. They soon arrived at the grand opening, late but safe, and David was proclaimed a hero for his brave actions. Well done, David. You were very brave rescuing Vitesse, even when the flyover was about to collapse. It will be rebuilt within the coming days.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eric. But if I was on time, I probably wouldn't have met you and your wife when your balloon crashed. And I also wouldn't have been at the grand opening when Vitesse needed rescuing. Everyone else is either here or finishing off their uncompleted tasks, so they wouldn't have been able to rescue him either.
Well, David, it seems as though for once it was a good thing that you were late. Sometimes that can be the case.
Oh yes, sir. That's what I have learnt today. But now I think it's time for the grand opening. Are you going to do the honours?
Well, seeing as I am the one who this building is named after, who else would do it? Right, here goes.
Ahem. I now officially declare the Eric building open. All the engines cheered and honked. The building was now open and it was time for the opening party. It was a great success, the party. The VIPs had such a great time checking out everything the building had to offer, but no one was happier that afternoon than Vitas. Thank you for rescuing me today, David. I'm sorry I teased you about running late. Maybe it's good to be late sometimes. In fact, I was actually late as well today because I broke down.
That's alright, Vitas. I forgive you. You were just being boastful over your important job, but everything's fine now. This has been a learning experience for both of us. It's been a great day today, and it's great to see the Eric building is finally opened.
It was indeed. And maybe David, Vitas and Mr. Eric are right. It may not be the case all the time, but every once in a while, running late can benefit you. Actually, I think they are definitely right. Don't you?